That's crazy. Hey,
Only
Nick, so let me ask you a question. This is something I forgot to hit on earlier. On the uh on the Jones thing. As a outside spectator, you and Dennis, what do you guys remember him as if this thing turns out to be what it seems to be? How does everything how is he remembered in the history of the sport when there are these types of accusations and questions around what he does? Does he become a Barry Bonds type of person? Does he become a Lance Armstrong? Does he become someone who kind of just
well, he's different
there
than
are people that actually have been tied to some of those things and they've gotten passes. Like it's not nearly as severe as some of the guys that I've listed.
well, no, that's not true. I mean, Barry Bonds, Lance Armstrong.
Those are the two most severe
You
cases.
think you think like performance enhancing. The Jones's problem is that you're combining performance enhancing with like cocaine, hitting a pregnant woman, running away, like criminal shit, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it gets like, it more reminds you of like when I think of him, I don't go to PEDs right away. I go more to like it's like the NBA star who was like on his way up and just couldn't
Yeah.
stop doing coke. And even
So
though
here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Because you say that, though, because you say I don't think of him with the PEDs initially, then there is hope for his stuff that he's done to stay intact, right, Dennis? Doesn't it? Because if it doesn't scream at you right away, then maybe at some point it can actually be forgiven. That's my feel.
I think it's more. Sorry, I know you said Dennis. There's more money involved. If I'm a fan, but like if I'm a fan, if he's not fighting you, I'll say if he's not fighting you, I don't really care what he does because I don't really care if he's fighting. But like if it's just a fighter that you have no emotional attachment to, you're kind of like forgiving of anything. You're like whatever, just.
Yeah.
But then if you're the UFC and you got this guy who you just said we're not letting him do this again. Oh, he did it again. Like that's where his challenge will be. Is like who's gonna like the promotion's not going to want to invest time and energy. Although I'm not.
I
I
mean,
mean,
unless they do like a bad boy, like that, just a bad, like
I mean, they do get
like the
public.
heel.
If any publicity is good publicity, they got more publicity.
more than they can handle at this point.
But yeah, that's the tricky part. But his tricky part is he's balancing these like performance enhancing stuff, which is I think a lot of people identify with like, yeah, it's illegal, but you're just trying to get ahead in your job, or you're cheating on a test in school. Now, obviously, you're fighting someone, so it sucks that you have a physical advantage, and you could do damage to someone, right? Like you had to go through that, and so it's like that's not fair.
I mean, kind
Yeah.
of like what Mark Hunt is going through with Brock Lesnar after that whole test thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my first reaction was like, dude, you gotta fucking sue him or some shit, right? Like it's this
Well,
is
yeah,
this is
so
fucked
You
up.
did
Like,
ask me that.
You went
You
through
did
all
ask me
this. You went through all this experience that you didn't. You didn't. Well, if it turns out to be true, you shouldn't have had to go through. Now, I don't know what would have happened right before the fight if they said, hey DC, and you're like I'm ready, and you're like, hey, he may not be totally clean. Do you want to fight?
Well, those answers never change. It's always yes. So
Just because it's
that's
so
why
close to the fight?
yes, and you put in the training camp, and it's about the competition and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it always has been the same.
Do you think there's any
So
chance they know? They like because
no,
it has
I
been,
don't think they knew.
because they have known before. I remember hearing about some other ones where guys have been off the charts, and they're like, let's just pretend this hasn't happened, and we'll just
That
keep
happened.
fighting.
Honestly, that happened with Jones, where he said they knew he was Vitor Belfort was cheating before they fought in Canada one time.
Yeah, that's the one I always heard. You always
So,
heard the rumors that like everyone knew.
but I don't know. That was never proven to be true. I don't think. I don't know if that was proven for sure that anyone knew that Vitor Belfort was doing anything more than the TRT, which was allowed at the time. There was an exemption
Yeah.
for TRT at the time. Everything was so blurred, man. The lines were so blurred just a few years ago. Man, we actually were planning on discussing a few different topics, but this McGregor, Mayweather, and Jones thing pretty much took over the entire podcast. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. Well, there's two things that are crazy. One, I looked at Dennis. Well, what's funny about that? I said there's two things that are crazy, and I looked at Dennis. I noticed
That's
earlier. We're gonna have to rewind the tapes earlier. But DC always throws these Dennis's in. Earlier he was like, I mean, he was talking about McGregor Mayweather, and he's like, you got a guy with zero professional experience, Dennis, who he threw a Dennis in that sentence, and then just now he said something about like something of, I don't know, it was something
Well,
about
I'm
like
just talking.
the
to him.
guys.
I'm not asking.
Do you think the guy's a like fuck up or something? Dennis, what do you think? Like, the time
Because I'm just trying to see if I'm because look, you have more of a tie to mixed martial arts than Dennis does because you've sponsored fighters. Dennis would be the guy that hears from his friends like, hey, there's a UFC fight playing at Buffalo Wild Wings. You want to go watch it? You know what I'm saying? Because he does not have any type of tie to mixed martial arts. That's why I asked him. And also, Nick, we're three guys here. You know, it's not just two of us. You know, we got to make sure we try to incorporate.
No, I was just saying
Dennis.
that. I was just saying the word. If we went back and reviewed the tapes and we found the words you said, 3 or 4 words before saying Dennis's name each time, it's controversial.
I'll listen to it.
No, it's like no professional
figure out what's
experience,
going on.
Dennis.
I'm just addressing the man. Come on, Nick.
He likes to pick.
What?
So last thing, Nick. Last little quick topic before we
before you lose too much focus on your video games.
I'm watching Alexa Bliss right now win the WWE Women's Championship.
Oh, that's not what I have never heard of Alexa Bliss, and I was like, wait, you're doing what?
Google,
You're doing what?
Google Alexa Bliss.
Your son was just in the room. You better turn that off.
Yeah. Anyways,
if I went home and told my wife, what are you looking at on your phone? Alexa Bliss. She'd be like, oh, I don't even know what happened. Yeah. She's a wrestler.
Last thing I want to say is interview line. Why has this not been done yet, Nick? I mean, is Dennis searching for the perfect way to set up the interviews when there is a good way that will work, and he's just trying to find the perfect way? Is that what's happening right now?
Well, I mean, I'll go through. I have a plan for it, so I didn't realize we're going to podcast today, so I will do it before the next one.
Before the next one. You know what I think it is? I think back in the day, Dennis would always have like these questions he had to answer, and it kind of put him on like a whole like it kind of put him on the intellectual level, and us is just kind of like, how does this work? How does this work? And I think he's kind of bummed out that he doesn't get any of those things to answer anymore. So let's give it. So let's give him 2 for next time. What do you got? What are you wondering?
Couple dilemmas. Okay. All right. Here's one. I want to know. Shit, my girl just told me some stuff the other. I really don't.
Can't think of anything.
I didn't really put it much thought into it.
Well, why don't we tweet a couple things during the next? When are we doing the next one? Pretty soon, right? Before football season starts.
We have to be back on the weekend. All right. So today's Monday. We need to be back on the weekend to push one out next Monday. We got to get more on this. You know, the podcast last week was very successful. Yeah. We broke into the top 25 sports podcast, which is crazy, you know. But
thanks to everyone who listened.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We love the support. We'll keep busting them out, but we got to make sure that Dennis, you have time. We're watching. We're waiting on you. It's pretty much your show.
Let's do this. How about next time you figure out why some people get seasick and some people don't?
That's what. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. Why? Why with the seasickness?
And if you get seasick, is there any correlation between how fast your ears grow?
Oh, we already got the answer to that one.
I'm actually going to Texas Wednesday. Terrible planning.
What are you doing in Texas?
When do you come back?
I was going to Austin with the wife.
Oh shit!
A little vacation, yeah. So it might be a little wet. But we'll see.
Oh, that's bad.
What's going out there?
You're going. May as well. I mean, Austin's a ways from Texas, from Houston, I think.
Yeah,
so.
I've never been to Texas, so that's why.
Yeah, I think. I mean, this is literally the second biggest state in the entire country. So.
Dude, the videos and pictures are unbelievable.
It's unreal. Have you seen what Derek Lewis is doing?
Yeah.
He's driving his truck. He's got a massive truck.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Great man, dude. Great human being to be out there helping people try to fight those floods. The crazy thing is last year we went to Louisiana for my mom's birthday, and we had the same thing happen in my hometown. Same thing, man. Floods, people stuck, cars getting stuck. It was every year. And my wife, Selena, she asked me that. She goes, does that happen every year? Like where there's just a massive flood down in Louisiana, Texas? And I was like, man, a lot of years with the rain and everything being below sea level, you run into a lot of bad issues. And Yeah, you saw what's happening down in Houston. Our prayers go out to everybody that's struggling, and are having to evacuate their homes and find safety. Our prayers go out to you, and may God be with you guys.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
With that being said, boys, we talked.
And we talked.
We talked. We got a first shirt idea. I don't remember what it was, but I think we got DC. What did he say? He said, when I'm not awake,
I'm not awake. Listen, if
I'm not awake,
fall
I'm
asleep.
asleep.
I can't stay awake.
Yeah. If I'm asleep, I can't stay awake.
Sometimes that happens.
If we get to the point of making shirts, that's shirt number 1.
Perfect.
Oh, the next one is gonna be I can't drink my coconut milk if I have only 1 month left.